Hey, Kyle's Wonderful here again with another wrestling review. This time it's WWE NXT 2.0 from August 9th, 2022, live from the CWC in Orlando, Florida. With Heat Wave only a week away, things are definitely heating up on NXT tonight. We've got a rounds match, boxer against wrestler, Trick Williams against Wes Lee, with Wes Lee not only looking for revenge for having chemicals used against him, but he'll also want to prove that Trick is nothing like Muhammad Ali. Trick isn't too worried about it and is flying high, living the good life alongside NXT North American champion Carmelo Hayes. Speaking of Hayes, he'll probably find himself getting challenged by Solo Sikoa pretty soon, who's been saying he's got next for about 3 months now. Now that Solo Sikoa took out Von Wagner in last week's main event street fight, Solo should be refocused on the North American title going forward. Cora Jade took out her own tag team champion partner, Roxanne Perez, a month ago. Now Roxanne is due to return next week at Heatwave, but Cora Jade could possibly avoid that match tonight if she can take out Zoey Stark in the main event, where Mandy Rose suggested that, well, if you take out Zoey Stark, the second place the runner up of the battle royal will take me on for the title. So that was Cora Jade. She was the runner up. So Cora Jade's looking to take out Zoe and not only avoid the Roxanne Perez match next week, but also get a title match against Mandy Rose next week. It was also announced last night on Raw that Zoey Stark and Nikkita Lyons have been added to the WWE Tag Team Tournament. Despite never teaming as a tag team before, they've only ever been in the ring during that Battle Royal that Zoey Stark won. So maybe Nikkita will be watching over her new partner to make sure Cora Jade isn't able to injure her. However, Nikkita does have her own match tonight against Kiana James, who's been feeling or telling everyone that would listen that Nikkita Lyons is a menace to the locker room and a bad person to have on the roster. So Nikkita Lyons will be looking to shut up Kiana James tonight, then get ready for the tag tournament and be able to. Luckily for her, that match happens first. So Nikkita Lyons has a ton of time before the main event to be able to watch over her partner for the tag title tournament. Speaking of the tag titles, last week we saw Kiana James and Kaden Carter finally win the NXT tag titles after being a team for almost 3 years. That was a big moment, and it definitely looked as though Gigi and JC freaked out for not getting the titles for a third time. Kiana and Caden better be watching their backs tonight because I think they're freaking out, like I said. Also, some news came out of the NXT live events this weekend, the house show events that were non-televised. First, the bad news. Tatum Paxley got her nose absolutely busted and broken by Sloane Jacobs in a match. There's no telling how long this will keep Tatum Paxley out of action, but the match was stopped and there was blood everywhere. So there is some good news that came out of the house shows. Jakara Jackson finally made her debut in a match, who's been seen in the Carmelo and Trick barbershop segments, and she's been on the roster for about a year now without ever having a match. Finally, her debut match was at the NXT house show over the weekend. She's got a great look to her. Hopefully, she's been training hard. I have no idea how she is in the ring. There's no matches to watch from her, but I have, like I said, she's got a good look to her, and I hope that it works out. So we start this week's episode again from August 9th, 2022, with a bunch of people talking in a row here. So Trick Williams starts it off by saying that he's going to beat Wes Lee tonight. Then Wes Lee says he's coming out swinging. Trick's jaw is made of glass. Then Cora Jade says, I'm going to eliminate Zoey Stark tonight, just like I took out Roxanne Perez. Zoey Stark then says, nothing is going to stop me from taking that championship off of Mandy Rose. And then Tony D'Angelo says, Santos Escobar cost me 2 titles and he'll have to meet me here. And then we see he's at like a fountain at night. I don't know. It might be some kind of um, like famous place, but I didn't recognize it myself. So now we start with we go to the ring for our first match. Kiana James comes out, and Nikkita Lyons we see in a little in the back. Nikkita Lyons, before coming out, says, right now Zoey and I are different tracks, and Zoey was there saying we have the advantage. We have to the element of surprise in the tag title tournament. So after we win those tag titles, everyone will know our name. Let me get a drink real quick. So yeah, it was definitely a surprise to see Zoey Stark and Nikkita Lyons being the NXT representatives in the women's tag team title tournament on the SmackDown side of the bracket. So this match starts, and remember, it's Kiana James versus Nikkita Lyons here, with Kiana James having talked about a lot of trash. She even had a PowerPoint presentation about how Nikkita Lyons wasn't good, how her lifestyle growing up wasn't good, and Nikkita Lyons says basically that she's proud of where she came from and who she is. So this match starts super fast. They tie up. Nikkita Lyons is able to use her power advantage here. She's got the much bigger size advantage as well. So that slows the match down, taking Kiana James down with a big shoulder tackle here. Kiana gets back up the fight, but again, Nikkita takes her down, and Kiana's able to evade a corner attack after that, then attacks the knee of Nikkita Lyons multiple times here, definitely going after the knee hardcore. The fight now spills out of the ring. Nikkita gets her knee hit into the steps. So Nikkita Lyons is in a rough way here, getting her knee damaged big time. Back in the ring now, the screen goes black as Nikkita had a wardrobe malfunction. Now Nikkita fires up and hits the Bronco Buster, just one big one, hitting the gooch to the face of Kiana James, who now gets up and goes back to attacking the knee, but Nikkita Lyons just simply hits a big roundhouse kick, followed by the splits pin for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Nikkita Lyons. So Nikkita Lyons got through that match fairly quickly, but her knee is completely wrecked. How will that affect her tag title tournament going forward, and how will that affect Nikkita Lyons' ability to watch the back of Zoey Stark later on? So that's pretty interesting there. Kiana James gets taken out easily, but after the match takes out Nikkita Lyons again, holding up a bag. I don't know what's in the bag. We never find out what's in this bag. It's just a black bag, but Kiana James seems to be holding that up proud here. So that's something we'll probably this feud doesn't look like it's over with here, even though Kiana James lost fairly easy and quickly. So now we go. That was a fine match, though. Nothing too bad. It was a little too short and rushed, but Nikkita Lyons did look good in the match. And now we have a whole story where Nikkita Lyons has a knee injury. Remember, I think it's that same knee that caused her to go out of the breakout tournament that it looked like Nikkita Lyons was maybe going to win the breakout tournament, eventually won by Roxanne Perez. But that same knee has now been targeted again. We'll see if that affects Nikkita Lyons going forward. In the back now, we're in the Diamond Mine gym, and Apollo Crews is there visiting with the Creed brothers, and they're watching back last week's match. Roderick now comes into the Jim's seeing that Apollo is there, and he gets mad, saying, "What is this? What's going on?" So Julius now gets mad that Roddy was not there last week, and Roderick Strong says, "Well, I didn't show up on purpose. You guys passed the test." Julius Creed says, "Well, then you lied to us. Family doesn't lie to each other." And Apollo says, "He's right, you know." And Roderick Roderick Strong says, "What are you even doing here, Apollo? You shouldn't be here. How about I beat the piss out of you tonight?" So Roderick Strong is just always hilarious in these segments. And then Roderick finishes by saying, "Listen to your two new best friends here. They're not going to be in your corner. They'll be in mine. Diamond Mine forever." So that'll be a match later on, and that ends up being the match of the night. Two really good veterans, Roderick Strong and Apollo Crews, will have a match later on. But now it's time for the rounds match. Wes Lee comes out wearing boxing gloves here, and this match will be 6 rounds with, we're told, 20 seconds between rounds, but it's definitely more like 5. And we go to an ad break right as Wes Lee is making his entrance here. So now when we come back, we get the first part of a 3-part running story throughout the show. Maybe you could say even 4-part, but in the back, Lash Legend stops Malik Blade here, and she wants to know where Idris Enofe is, but then says, "Never mind, I don't even really like Idris." So Lash Legend talks so much here about how great she was in her match last week against Alba Fire, and then while she's still talking Malik Blade's ear off here, we just go back to the ring. So we'll go back checking on those two later on. Trick Williams now comes out also wearing boxing gloves, and he has the word Willie on the butt of his boxing shorts. So Carmelo Hayes, of course, comes out to be his corner man here. You have to win. We're told you have to win 2 pinfalls or in the 6 rounds to win the match, or you can get a knockout. So the crowd is 100% behind Wes Lee here. And what the heck? They keep the boxing gloves on when the match starts. This is not what Wes Lee said he was going to do last week. Here we are just having a boxing match to start this out, where Wes Lee talked last week about how he wanted it to be a boxer versus a wrestler. So in my mind, I was thinking like Antonio Inoki versus Muhammad Ali, where Inoki laid on his back, hitting leg shots the whole time. But no, we're just starting out with a regular boxing match going against what Wes Lee said last week. It's also got wrestling rules as well. So basically, it seems like it's a brawl for all match, except it's not real like the brawl for all. It's a shoot, or it's not a shoot fight. It's like it just comes off looking terrible. So I like both of these guys. I even like boxing, but I could care less about this match. We have a whole 3-minute round of a boxing match that's a fake fight here. Not really what I'm tuning in for. Trick is so much bigger than Wes Lee as well, so it's not even a fair boxing match whatsoever. The reach advantage is just ridiculous. So I have no idea what all these rules are. They showed the rules for about 3 seconds in really tiny font because there were so many rules to fit on the page. And of course, nobody, unless they paused their DVR, would have been able to read them all. So the first round now ends with Wes Lee taking control after getting destroyed after the whole round because of the reach advantage. Trick gets saved by the bell on that one. The NXT 2.0 theme plays for about 5 seconds between rounds, and now they take their boxing gloves off. So too late. They've already lost my interest in this match. I was intrigued by the match before we came on. I enjoy the rounds matches and the Heritage Cup in NXT UK, but this started out a boxing match, and it was I had already lost my interest. So then Trick gets a pinfall here, but right when I thought it was mercifully over, I forgot you have to get 2 pinfalls. Because Carmelo tricks Wes Lee here, and Trick gets the 1, 2, 3 to get the first pinfall. The match keeps going, and the round ends. So now we've in the third round, we go to a picture-in-picture ad break with Wes Lee in trouble, and now we see the clock in. It is the third round for sure. So when Trick got that pinfall, the round ended to start a new one, and I can't imagine anybody is enjoying this match or even knows the rules that's going on. So when we come back, Wes Lee had dominated all of round 3, and Carmelo loads the glove now and puts the glove back, just one glove back on Trick Williams. It's got some kind of foreign object or some kind of weapon inside of it. It is a loaded glove. So if Trick can get one good shot with that glove, it'll probably be over. The announcers try to tell this that this is like the Heritage Cup in the UK, NXT UK, but they ruined that comparison with the boxing match in round 1. So now in round 4, Wes Lee gets a pinfall to end the round, and now we're tied 1 fall apiece, with the next fall being the winner. Between rounds, Trick punches Wes with the loaded glove, but somehow Trick isn't disqualified for punching during the round's end, and Wes Lee isn't completely knocked out either, so that's weird. Anyway, Trick dominates round 5 now, hitting some big moves, but Wes Lee keeps kicking out of him. Wes battles back, and now Trick's in trouble, and Wes hits the Scotty 2 Hottie Bulldog, but sadly no worm followed by it. Instead, Wes Lee goes over to get his boxing glove back on, punches Trick Williams in the jaw, and gets the 1, 2, 3. The winner of this round's match by 2 falls to 1, Wes Lee. And then they just quickly move on to the next segment. So, like I said, that match was entirely ruined with the boxing match in round 1, with just wrestling after that. And it wasn't even as good as the Brawl for All, which everyone hated to begin with. So, I don't know what this maybe. I mean, I get people want to try different things and you want everything to be the same and stuff like that. But this was a miss, in my opinion. Maybe they could work on it and try and do something in the future with a round style match. But I don't like the whole boxing at the beginning. It was just ridiculous with Trick Williams having like double the reach advantage, and while we're sitting here watching 2 guys have a fake. I know we usually sit here and watch a fake wrestling fight, but boxing match like that, just there's a reason that. I mean, and you could say that real boxing is fixed as it is, which it is because it's corrupt, which is why I stopped watching boxing. But still, I mean, this was just ridiculous. So anyway, maybe Wes Lee, not maybe, but Wes Lee does get a little bit of revenge here of getting that chemicals and made him lose the match before against Trick Williams. So maybe Wes Lee might be able to move on to Carmelo Hayes after this. Maybe Hayes has to deal with Solo Sikoa more than likely, but Wes Lee can't be too far away from getting a North American title shot. So I wasn't a big fan of that, but It didn't ruin the episode for me per se. So now we see Andre Chase. He's sitting in his Chase U office. Like we've never really seen this office. It's like a teacher's office here. And Thea Hale gets called in basically to the principal's office here. Arianna Grace is across. Now we see across the desk from Andre Chase with a black eye. So Arianna Grace says that Thea Hale caused this accident and the black eye. And Andre Chase seems to be taking it seriously here until Arianna Grace says that she might sue. So Chase then cusses her out, and since this happened on Chase U grounds, he makes a match for later tonight, Thea Hale against Arianna Grace. Then Thea Hale acts like this is going to be her first ever match, but we've already seen Thea Hale have like 3 matches on Level Up, 2 of them against Arianna Grace, who she's going to fight tonight. So are they telling us that Level Up isn't a real thing? It doesn't count. What is that? That's weird. That'll really get people to watch your Level Up show when you're treating Thea Hale as if she's having her first match here. We've literally watched her have 2 other matches against Arianna Grace and another match other than that. So that's a little ridiculous. But Thea is so excited about this that she knocks Andre Chase down with her excitement, and then we go to an ad break. So that'll be a match we get later on. When we come back now from ad break, Carmelo Hayes is still out there. He's in the ring with a microphone now, and Carmelo Hayes says, "Look, I'm upset too. We were supposed to have an hour celebration here, but now I have time to kill. And I have to talk about last week. I had an open challenge, but Nathan Frazier stepped up and got stepped on. That's all it is, and that's all it's ever going to be." So then Nathan Frazier's music now plays, but instead it's Giovanni Vinci who comes out and surprises, not with an attack, but it's just standing behind Carmelo Hayes here. So Giovanni Vinci says, "Hey, I give you credit. You made the North American title relevant, but I saw the fear in your eyes when I came out last week. So why don't you open that challenge back up for next week? You call yourself the A champion, but all I see is a guy." So then Vinci says a few things in Italian. I'm not fluent in Italian. Then Carmelo says, "If anything, Nathan saved you from me last week. Yeah, you have potential, but you're not him because I am him. At Heatwave next week, you can have the match, but I'll put you on a t-shirt and it won't be designer." I think he's talking about a spray paint "Rest in Peace" t-shirt there. Vinci then tries the fight here, but or starts a brawl, but officials quickly break it up, and that is going to be a great match added to Heatwave next week, which is shaping up to be a pay-per-view worthy event. Although maybe everything's going to have to get rushed because it's not a pay-per-view; it's a 2-hour show with commercials. But still, next week's Heatwave is looking good. Speaking of Heatwave, the main event, or I'm assuming it'll be a main event. We've got a video hyping up now the NXT men's title match against Jade McDonough challenging Braun Breaker. So this is a little video here. It's got a lot of things in the background and things they've said before, but maybe some of it was new. JD McDonough says, "Everyone will find out that you never bet against an ace. A necessary evil has arrived at NXT 2.0. Braun Breaker says, "If you wanted my attention, you got it. This title attracts all kinds of competitors, but JD is different. He's driven by pain." And JD says, "Braun, he trains like a caveman, but I train in isolation, and that makes me lethal." So the whole video was showing a lot of training here, spliced with highlights of Braun and JD. And Braun then says, "My game plan is simple: power and aggression." So then that video ends. That should be a pretty good title match next week, a good clash of styles here. JD might even win the title. It's not a sure thing for Braun Breaker to retain the title. So that should be a good one. And like I said, Heatwave is definitely shaping up to be a big event. In the back now, Lash Legend is still talking a mile a minute to Malik Blade, who looks bored and annoyed. Now Idris Anofi walks up with a really cool red pimp hat, and then Lash just continues to talk, and both men are now stuck listening to Lash Legend talk about how she did so great last week. So in the ring now, both Thea Hale and Arianna Grace are already in the ring. We get about 3 seconds of Thea Hale's entrance while she was already in the ring. Arianna Grace starts the match strong and is all mad at Thea Hale, apparently for whatever happened that caused her with a black eye. Arianna Grace gets a takedown here, but and then Grace is using her size advantage. She's got a massive size advantage here. But I think we just saw Arianna Grace lose the Thea Hale on Level Up last week. Anyway, Thea Hale gets sent hard into the corner, then slammed into the mat. Arianna mounts her for some punches here, maybe looking to blacken the eye of Thea Hale, but Thea Hale blocks a few strikes, but she gets hit a lot as well, and Thea Hale's already in trouble. Arianna Grace now applies an armbar while rubbing her other forearm on Thea's face. William Regal and Fit Finley would have loved that there. So Thea can't get out due to her size, and the Chase U fan section are cheering for Thea Hale to get out. So Thea finds the fire inside to get to her feet with Arianna Grace on her back and jumping backwards to slam Grace and break the hold. We've now seen Thea Hale do that twice on Level Up, so this is the third time we've seen it, but it's still an impressive move with Thea Hale's really small size and Arianna Grace so much bigger than her. So Thea is now fired up, hitting corner strikes and a terrible looking drop kick followed by a nice looking spinning neck breaker. Then Thea Hale doesn't quite connect all the way on her standing moonsault, but this is a good time to remind you that Thea Hale is only 18 years old. So don't give her crap. Don't be texting her on Twitter like, oh, you're a waste. Like, and I say waste because that's in my notes left, because Arianna Grace now hits a big kick followed by the Wade Barrett Wasteland for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Arianna Grace, and Wade Barrett is absolutely in love seeing his old finisher used here by Arianna Grace, who gets no time to celebrate. They just quickly move on to the next segment. But this match was pretty good. It was, like I said, Thea Hale's very young, 18 years old. She's just about to start college. NXT allowed her to, once she starts college, to train with NXT, maybe be on the show as well. I don't know how the schedule is going to work out, but hopefully Thea Hale doesn't have any classes planned for Tuesdays. That means she could still show up for NXT 2.0 and level up. But she is going to go to college full time and train in the NXT Performance Center as well. She's only 18 years old, already looks pretty good in the ring for being 18. I think she was wrestling a little bit in the independents before even joining. So she must have been another one of those like Roxanne Perez, where they were starting under the age of 18, already getting matches under their belt and experience. So Thea Hale, someone to definitely look out for in the future. Again, probably a long way down the future. We don't even know if she's going to be able to train full time coming up as she's starting college as well. Meanwhile, this was probably the best match we've seen on Arianna Grace. Remember her terrible match on NXT 2.0 against Indy Hartwell. This was a lot better. Maybe that shows that Thea Hale might even be further along than Indy Hartwell, or maybe just Arianna Grace is developing quickly in the last couple of weeks. So now we go from that. Like I said, Grace gets no time to celebrate. We just got to move on to the next thing, and it's Apollo Crews now coming out to the ring. This is a very interesting segment here. So not only is Apollo Crews coming out to the ring for his match against Roderick Strong, we go inside of Apollo Crews' mind now. So we see the future. It's all green tinted with the color scheme of Apollo Crews, which right away makes it kind of cheesy because we're now inside of Apollo Crews' mind, seeing what he's thinking and seeing that he does indeed see the future, or at least he sees images. So it's all tinted with his Apollo Crews green color, and we see all four men of the Diamond Mine struggling in the ring like, oh, I can't get up and I'm falling and I can't get up. And this is ridiculous. Remember, we're inside of Apollo Crews' mind, seeing images that he sees. It's all tinted with green. All four of the Diamond Mine are in the ring, struggling on their back like turtles that can't get up and in pain. What the heck did we just witness? The green tinting makes the segment way too funny, and the way that Diamond Mine was squirming around in the ring was ridiculous. But this is so far past the point of ridiculous that it's actually amazing. I absolutely love this. The whole Apollo Crews season to the future storyline is fascinating. But don't forget, Zion Quinn did kind of expose it a little bit a few weeks ago by saying, well, if you see in the future, Apollo, why didn't you see my sneak attack coming? So this is very interesting. Obviously, we did, or I mean, not obviously, but later on in the show, we never see this four Diamond Mine guys struggling in the ring. It might just be what do you call it? Like you see something, but then you have to interpret what it means. So maybe he's seeing that the Diamond Mine are like struggling, and he just notices that Diamond Mine is about to break up or whatever. So that's just absolutely wild, but it's one of those things that makes you think. It's going to be a talking point. I like having these little things within wrestling. As long as weird things like this don't happen within a wrestling match, I'm fine with it. Where I get to have the problem is with like Orange Cassidy kicks and stuff like that during a match, where it seems like, sure, you might be doing some mind games, but why doesn't anybody ever just knock his block off with a big punch when he's doing those fake kicks. But something like this, we see it as on his way to the ring, and then we have a regular match. That just makes everything a little bit more exciting. I am a little bit biased because my favorite show of all time is Lucha Underground, and you would get this kind of stuff all the time. So apparently that's my favorite kind of wrestling, where really nice, great matches, and then every match has a story behind it, as ridiculous as it might be. I mean, we NXT 2.0 is slowly but surely turning into the new age Lucha Underground. We've already had characters killed off like Troy Two Times Donovan. Now we have these stuff like we're seeing inside of Apollo Crews' head. This is straight out of Lucha Underground, which is my favorite promotion or company or TV show, whatever you want to call it, of all time. So really cool here. I like how NXT 2.0 is doing that. NXT 2.0 also has a living, breathing environment. We've got a school inside of the little world that they've created here. We've got a barber shop, a bar that Fallon Henley runs. We've seen the nail salon and spa used with Tiffany Stratton and Toxic Attraction. All kinds of different living, breathing world that they're creating here at NXT 2.0, and it's great. It's really cool. So when we come back from the break now, instead of going to that match right away, we see highlights from last week's main event where Solo Sikoa defeated Solo Sikoa defeated Von Wagner in a Falls Count Anywhere match by using the Uso splash from the top rope to the outside through an announce table. So that was a really cool thing. But now we go in the trainer's room and we're told that Solo Sikoa has a sprained knee and might be out for 4 to 6 weeks. Solo Sikoa says, "No, I can't take time off." And then Cameron Grimes comes up and he tells Solo, "I was watching your match." Remember, we saw Cameron Grimes watching the match from outside the door. And he tells Solo that his match last week was awesome. Solo says something harmless here, but Cameron Grimes seems to overreact to this and gets mad and leaves. It seemed like an innocuous statement. I really think Solo said anything bad here, but Cameron Grimes seems to be on edge and he leaves upset. So wow. If Solo Sikoa is really hurt and is out for a month, that's terrible. But if this is a storyline with Solo just gonna fight through the pain and stuff, that's interesting right there. So there's no telling. I haven't heard any news about Solo Sikoa hurting himself in the last week's match. So my gut tells me this is just storyline, and hopefully he's not really injured. So now we're in the ring, and Apollo Crews had just made his way out, and Roderick Strong comes out alone in this match. Remember, he said that the Creeds would be in his corner. They do not come out. So this is going to be a good one, and it is. This is our match of the night by far. So Strong applies a headlock right away, but Apollo counters. Strong counters right back. They switch waist locks now until Apollo gets a waist lock takedown. Strong gets a headlock applied, but Apollo counters with a head scissors. Strong now gets out and makes Apollo mad with paintbrushing strikes here. Strong looks pleased with himself, but Apollo now uses his size advantage to take control, but Strongly quickly gets to the ropes to break the hold here. Then he shoves Apollo, making him even more mad. Strong gets wrist control now, but Apollo kicks himself free. Strong now gets a nice takedown and applies a hammerlock on the arm, but Apollo flips himself free and quickens the pace here, ending with a nice drop kick. Apollo now goes on the attack in the corner. Strong fights back, hitting a backbreaker to take control. Both men now chop each other hard in the chest, and Roddy hits another backbreaker, the Messiah the backbreaker here. What he's known for. So Apollo then gets caught in the corner, but uses his size again here to fight Strong off. Apollo leaps off the middle rope, but Strong hits him in the midair with a big strike. Now both men are on the apron fighting. Apollo blocks an apron backbreaker and a German suplex attempt, but Strong leaps to the floor and trips Apollo off the apron. And this is by far the match of the night. So now we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. Or wait, no, we don't get a picture-in-picture ad break. Instead, we got it for that terrible rounds match earlier. So now that we come back from the break, Strong has an STF applied, and it might even be a Regal stretch, but we're told that Strong had dominated the entire ad break, and now he has been focusing on the back of Apollo Crews the entire match. Apollo still has some strength in his back, though, to get out and hit a vertical suplex. Apollo now goes to the top rope, but Strong stops him, sending Apollo crashing to the mat, where Roderick applies another hold now. It was on the arms and neck this time. So Apollo strikes his way out, then evades an attack, hitting 3 big lariats on Strong. Apollo nips up, so I guess his back is fine. Not liking that. So Apollo now hits a middle rope backbuster, and not once does he sell his back whatsoever. That's been getting worked over this entire match. Now Apollo hits 2 German suplexes in a row, but Strong blocks the third one with back elbows. Apollo then slams him down anyway and hits a wheelbarrow slam. The crowd's cheering for Apollo to end it, but Strong is able to counter a spinning powerbomb here with a headlock takeover. Strong then hits a nasty knee strike while Apollo was on the apron, and now Strong is able to hit the apron backbreaker he was looking for earlier. Cruz is just barely able to kick out of this one at 2. Now Strong applies the stronghold Boston Crab, but Apollo is able to use his power advantage yet again to kick Strong off. Apollo now hits a spine buster, but his back gave way on the powerbomb attempt. Strong hits a backbreaker again, but Apollo catches Strong after that into a gut buster. Strong then gets a kick to the face, but a one-handed powerbomb from Apollo Crews gets him the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Apollo Crews. This was a very good match, the match of the night, but Apollo Crews didn't sell his back whatsoever. He had the one little thing that was written in the script for him to give way on the power bomb, but every other move once Apollo started going on the attack, never once held his back as if he was in pain, never once showed like he was in pain with his back that Roddy was working over the entire match. So that's amateur stuff. That's Bush League stuff. I expect better from Apollo Crews. He needs to learn how to sell. This is wrestling. You can't sit there and watch someone work over your back the entire match and then act like you're completely fine. It screams to your audience that what you're watching is fake. The one thing I hate in wrestling is when you remind me that this is a fixed fight. He's not really hurt. So when you're doing stuff like this, when you don't sell the back and you're doing all your moves as if it was completely normal, and we didn't just sit there and watch you get your back worked over it makes the entire 3 or 4 minutes that we watched you get your back worked over completely meaningless if you don't sell it later on. So I expect better out of Apollo Crews. This was a fun match. A lot of people are not even probably gonna mention the selling, but for someone like me, it completely took me out of the match, and reminded me that I was watching a fake fight, just like that boxing match earlier. So a couple of matches tonight definitely reminding me that I'm watching a fake fight, which is the number one rule that makes me upset about a match, that makes me not like a match, that makes me not care about a match. This one, I mean, it kind of happened towards the end after we already got some great stuff. The amateur wrestling at the beginning, the catch can style grappling was awesome. But like I said, watching him get his back worked over and then Apollo doesn't sell it later on was terrible. So in the back now, Lash Legend still talking, and then Idris finally interrupts her and says, "Lash, you lost last week." And Lash Legend gets really mad. "No, I know you didn't just interrupt me." And then Pretty Deadly walk up and says, "Never interrupt a lady when she's talking." And Lash says, "Yes, boy." So Pretty Deadly now say they'll take out Idris and Malik in a match later tonight. And Malik says, "That's fine. I've got a lot of pent up aggression after listening to Lash for the last hour," which was a funny line. And I like this whole thing that they did, the running story throughout the group. So this should be a pretty good match. Pretty Deadly had a bright purple outfit on this week. That looks pretty good. So I like that whole Lash Legend story running throughout, talking the ear off of Idris and Malik here. Pretty funny stuff. And then she was talking about how great she was for Idris just to say, "Bro, you lost." So now we see Santos Escobar driving, and he's going to meet up with Tony D'Angelo for the one-on-one accord here. So Santos is on the phone. I'm guessing the one of the Legado del Fantasma members, and Santos says he's going to finish this once and for all. And then we go to an ad break, and that will be next. But when we come back, we get a short little segment here. It's Valentina Ferrar and Yulisa Leon upset that they did not win the tag team titles last week, and they're there with Sangha, their friend, who they asked for advice. But before Sangha can give much advice, Katana Chance and Kiana James, Katana Chance and Caden Carter, the new NXT tag team champions, walk in and say, "Hey, if you two want a title match, you can have one at any time." Definitely telling us that Katana Chance and Caden Carter are complete baby faces after maybe being heelish for a couple weeks. Then when they won the titles last week, they looked like they were back to being baby faces. The crowd cheered them big time, and now they're here saying they're fighting champions. So the new NXT women's tag team champions leave, and then Sangha says, "Hey, you." He's talking to Valentina Ferraz and Yulisa Leon. He says, "Hey, you two remind me of those two women. They fought for a long time and finally got the titles. You just need to keep working hard. So next week, I will train your body and mind for balance. So I can't wait for that. Every time we get a Sangha segment, um, they're always really good. So I'm looking forward to this segment next week as well. It's on a jam-packed heat wave event next week. So now we go back to the Diamond Mine, and the Creeds and Damon Kemp are now there watching back the 4-on-4 tag match between Diamond Mine and the Tony D'Angelo family. Then Roderick Strong comes in and says, "Where were you guys?" And the Creed says, "Oh, that was just a test. You passed." Just like Roderick Strong said to them earlier. So the Julius says, "I just watched back the 8-man tag match," and like Roderick basically just gets mad, starts talking about Apollo, throws some stuff, and then leaves. So we'll have to find out what happens with them. Don't forget the Apollo Crews vision that we saw inside of his head with the 4 members of Diamond Mine struggling in the ring. So the more I think about it, the more I think that wasn't literally what's going to happen. It was just a sign that to Apollo that he knows the Diamond Mine are about to break up. But I mean, we all know that. So it's still kind of weird. Anyway, it's time for the Accord. So this is interesting. We're at the meeting point. It's near a waterfall, and Santos Escobar finally comes up. Tony D'Angelo says, "You're late. Did you come alone?" And he did. So they get closer, and now there's a table there. Santos Escobar wants to shake hands, but Tony says, "What are you, serious? Sit down. You want to shake hands now?" And Santos says, "Well, you put me in a hospital, almost ended my career." And Tony D'Angelo says, "Well, you didn't stay in your lane. 4 months later, look where we're at. You work for me." Santos says, "Are you North American champion? Are you a tag team champion?" And Tony says, "I'm not a champion, but I'm the boss." And Santos says, "Well, this arrangement isn't going to work. I'm too prideful of a person. I built Legado brick by brick. So what do you want?" And then Tony says, "I called this meeting to get your head on straight, but it looks like it's still shoved up your butt." And Santos says, "Well, the only reason you're Don of NXT is because you sent Champa packing. So let's up the stakes. If you beat me next week, I'm gone, never to be seen in NXT again." And Tony says, "All right, but I get to keep those 3 sheep." They were just starting to come around, and Santos says, "Well, they're not sheep, they're my family, but sure, you can keep them if you win, but if I win, Legado is free from the family." And Tony says, "Deal, but it's going to be a street fight." They shake hands and leave, and wow, Heatwave is really shaping up to be a pay-per-view worthy event next week, except it's going to be on free TV with commercials, which means everything's going to have to be rushed. Hopefully they can find a good balance to get everything in without every single segment seeming rushed. So still, it's going to be a very wild 2 hours of nonstop action next week. I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a crazy review. Definitely check back in for that one. So I think Santos might possibly lose and go to the main roster, because Lord knows Santos Escobar is ready, and Lord knows we need to see Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar at a big pay-per-view event before either of the men gets any older. So that's going to be a classic, and that'll be a passing of the torch from Rey Mysterio to Santos Escobar whenever that happens. Santos is one of the most experienced wrestlers on the entire NXT roster. I think he's like in his mid-30s and has been wrestling for over 20 years, starting at like the age of 13. So he comes from a family, I think he's 3rd generation, but I know for a fact he's 2nd generation. So having him on the main roster is the right thing to do. Santos Escobar should have been up there a long time ago. The interesting part here is we might get, from the sounds of it, if Santos loses, he doesn't get to bring Legado del Fantasma with him to the main roster, which in my opinion might be a little bit of a mistake. I would definitely prefer Santos to go up with the other 3 members of Legado del Fantasma. So maybe just Santos will win. That frees all 4 members from the Tony D'Angelo family, and then maybe they'll go up to the main roster at that point, because I think someone like a DJZ, who's Joaquin Wild, I mean, he's been on TV for over a decade because he was in TNA forever. And then like a Raul Mendoza, he's shown that he's really good at those tag matches with Joaquin Wild. The only person who's kind of green still is Elektra Lopez, but she's got a great look to her. She's really big. She's got a good size to her. She could match up with other people that they have size on the main roster, like a Raquel Rodriguez, just off the top of my head. So I would hope to see, and I hope that happens, all of Legado del Fantasma gets to go to the main roster. But if that doesn't happen, we need Santos up there so that he can have a big, giant, long pay-per-view match against Rey Mysterio, which is going to be awesome. So really funny stuff when we come back from an ad break now. I can't believe this happened. Tiffany Stratton's walking in the back, and she has a personalized locker room with her name on it. So Wendy Chu is waiting inside and says, "I've been waiting for you, Stratton." And then Wendy Chu turns the lights off. We hear somebody getting beaten up. When the lights turn on, Tiffany Stratton is laid out on the floor, and we see that Wendy Chu had night vision goggles on. So holy crap, that was wild. And then that segment ends. So Wendy Chu's definitely slowly being fixed here. Gone are the silly string and the sack of balls, and in our sneak attacks with night vision goggles. I definitely love the new vicious side that we've gotten from Wendy Chu over the last couple of weeks. I was hoping that the Tiffany Stratton feud was going to be over after their big hardcore street fight or whatever that was, but I like the direction they're going with Wendy Chu now. She's less like Doink the Clown, and more like, I don't even know. We've never seen anybody use night vision goggles on WWE. It sounds like something that would have happened in WCW in the year 2000, but I don't think anybody's ever utilized night vision goggles in WWE before. So that's interesting. It keeps with the Wendy Chu character of using props and gimmicks and weird things, but this time it's not silly string or a bucket of water or confetti like Doink the Clown. This time it's night vision goggles. I love that. So now we go to the ring, and Pretty Deadly come out. By the way, I don't know when we're going to see Tiffany Stratton and Wendy Chu have a match, but I'm assuming not next week because next week's so loaded. So that sounds like something we'll get in 2 weeks, some kind of big blow off match, as if because their last match was a big blow off street fight type match. So I wonder what it'll be this time. Hopefully, maybe a lights out night goggles match that we can't even see, or we'll see it in like night vision ourselves on TV. That would be pretty sick. So anyway, Pretty Deadly come out, and it's Elton Prince and Kit Wilson. Like I said, they've got that great looking purple gear on tonight. So Idris Enofe and Malik Blade also come out looking like $1,000,000. Elton and Malik are going to start this match. Elton hits a shoulder tackle, but Malik hits 2 arm drags right back and tags in Idris while holding on to the arm. Idris comes off the top rope, attacks that arm there with a double team. Now Elton blocks the next attack and tags in Kit Wilson. They hit a double team pop-up European uppercut on Malik, and then trap him into the Pretty Deadly corner, using quick tags to isolate Malik, now hitting double teams as well. Idris has been knocked off the apron, so Pretty Deadly are kind of just messing around. They're messing around outside the ring. Now the NXT UK Tag Team Champions Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen, along with Fallon Henley, come out. They get Pretty Deadly back into the ring. As if you remember, Pretty Deadly had a title shot against them for the NXT UK tag titles, but lost. Pretty Deadly are back in the ring now. Idris tags in, quickens the pace here with some good offense, taking Kit down. Then Idris hits a top rope elbow drop. Elton is able to break up the pin, then throws a chair into the ring, but Malik dives out from the ring onto Elton right after that, and Briggs and Jensen get the chair away from Kit Wilson. But Pretty Deadly take control anyway, and they hit their double team finisher, Spilled Milk, because you don't want to cry over spilled milk, on Idris Enofe for the 1-2-3. The winners of this match by pinfall. Pretty Deadly, another short match here on NXT, but it wasn't like terrible. It told a pretty good story. It had the stuff with Briggs and Jensen as well. And now out of nowhere, Lash Legend comes out hitting a big pump kick on Fallon Henley. Wade Barrett says, "Oh my God, a pump kick while wearing heels." So hopefully Fallon Henley did not get a heel to the eye or something ridiculous. Knock on wood. I didn't see any blood or have any news come out, but man, doing a pump kick with heels, I would not be doing that. So anyway, in the back, I mean, there's not much else to say about that. Maybe Pretty Deadly are going to get another shot at the NXT UK tag titles. I'm surprised that Brooks and Jensen still have the titles. They only got them because they just happened to be in the UK when the champions got injured, and they were entered into a 4-way match for the titles, and they end up winning it. Then they've retained against Mark Andrews and Wild Boar since then, using their size advantage. And I don't know what they're going to do with the tag titles now, the NXT UK version. So in the back now, Javier Bernal again is talking to Cameron Grimes. Remember, he was the one last week that told, "Hey, they're talking about you, Grimes," when the um the schism, I almost called them something else that What Culture always calls them, but the schism were there talking about Cameron Grimes last week. Now we got Javier Bernal telling Cameron Grimes, yeah, don't leave, man, don't leave. And then Hank Walker is there as a security guard with the door to leave, despite Hank Walker being a wrestler on Level Up. The second time tonight, they were basically told Level Up isn't canon. Don't worry about Level Up. I'll still continue to review it because I like watching all the new recruits, but man, they keep telling us tonight that Level Up doesn't exist. Because here's Hank Walker, a wrestler on Level Up, just acting like a security guard. Anyway, Joe Gacy is with the dyad now, and he asks Cameron Grimes, where are you going? And Cameron says, I'm going home. And Gacy says, there's nobody there for you. So Cameron Grimes gets mad and just leaves the building now for a second time before the main event. The exact thing that over a month ago, Cameron Grimes was yelling at Malik Blade and Idris Enofe not to leave before the main event if you want to take your career serious. Now, for the second time in a row, we saw Cameron Grimes leave. We might have saw him trying to leave last week, but then he ended up seeing the Falls Count Anywhere match. Remember, we saw Cameron Grimes watching the Falls Count Anywhere match from the doorway. Maybe he was looking to leave then, but then he saw all the cameras were there and there was a fight in the way. And plus, there was a car that he couldn't leave because remember the car with Trick and Carmelo with the ladies, so there was a car blocking their path as well. So it looks like Cameron Grimes isn't taking anything seriously and wants to leave before the main event every single week. But we'll have to see where that one goes. We don't get any more story about that. It looks like the Schism still wants to get Cameron Grimes to join them. I hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, hopefully it'll be interesting. But it is time for the main event as Cora Jade makes her entrance now, getting huge boos from the crowd that hates her after her recent actions. So now we go back to the locker room where Nikkita Lyons is there. She's got some ice on her knee and she's talking to her partner for the tag team title tournament on SmackDown, Zoey Stark. So Nikkita Lyons says, Cora Jade is not going to stand in your way for the title, just like nobody's standing in our way for the women's WWE tag titles. And then they do a pretty cool, intricate handshake here as a way to show that they have nice chemistry without ever having a match together. So that was a nice way to show that they have chemistry together. Zoey Stark is going to be here to watch over this match from the back, but she does have a little bit of a hurt knee. But she'll do her best to make sure that the plans to take Zoey Stark out from next week's title match for the NXT Women's title at Heatwave doesn't interfere with their tag team title tournament. We don't know if they're going to have their match this week on SmackDown or the next week. If it happens next week on SmackDown, we might have Zoey Stark appearing on SmackDown with the women's title if she's able to win it and if she's able to get through this match tonight. Wink, wink. So, because I try to do a spoiler-free review here. But before we do that, we get a really, really interesting video here. So finally, for the first time after 10 months, we finally get character development for Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. Yes, they've never had a character whatsoever. Their only character was that they were the lackeys of Mandy Rose and that they're hot and they think they're hot and all. And that was their gimmick. So we finally get some character development here. It starts with a little bit of sad music behind it while Gigi Dolan says that she never had a home life and found solace within Toxic Attraction and those tag team titles. So before we move on there, already trying to make Gigi Dolan look a little bit of a sympathetic character here. That's something we've never been told about Gigi. Like I said, we've never been told anything about Gigi and JC before now, and they've been tag team champions basically for the last 10 months in a row, and we still never found out anything. So Gigi with that sad music, but now that turns into some rock music here, and JC tells us that she loves rock music, and we see Gigi shooting some pool in a bar, and they say that Toxic Attraction live the rock star life. We are wounded right now, but wounded animals are dangerous. So wow, we've finally got some character development after 10 months. Good stuff there. Because it looks like at any point they could go off on their own. I was kind of surprised to see Gigi and JC not get added to the WWE Women's Tag Team Tournament, instead being Nikkita Lyons and Zoey Stark, who've never teamed together. So I think that's a good thing. Don't put JC and Gigi up there quite yet. Let them flesh out their characters first, which is what we're doing here. But I do think they're probably already done everything they could in NXT, even though they're like a little bit green still, but they are kind of experienced from before joining NXT anyway. So they could definitely be a great addition to the women's division on either Raw or SmackDown. But I like that they're going to try and flesh out their characters a little bit first. So now we know that Gigi had a rough home life before that she got here, and she found like that home life she was looking for within Toxic Attraction, and she found acceptance by being a tag team champion. So That's pretty interesting. We didn't find out much about JC other than that she likes rock music and living the rock star life. So now we're in the back, and Apollo Crews says, I don't trust that guy, Roderick Strong, but I'm ready for anything. And then Grayson Waller, who's been missing for a few weeks, walks up and says, why are you even here, Apollo? Are you here to take spots from guys like me? I ran one guy out of here already. Do you want to be the next? So Apollo Crews says, bring it, but then Grayson just leaves. So I doubt that'll be next week because we've already got a really loaded heat wave card for next week. So it sounds like we're also setting up some matches for in 2 weeks, this being one of them probably. So I don't think these other matches that we've announced, because next week we've got Giovanni Vinci against Carmelo Hayes for the NXT North American title. We've got Tony D'Angelo versus Santos Escobar. If Santos wins, he has to, or they can be free. If Santos loses, he has to leave NXT forever. We've got Braun Breaker against Jade McDonough for the NXT men's title. We've got Mandy Rose against Zoey Stark for the NXT women's title, and Roxanne Perez against Cora Jade in a grudge match. So I don't think they can fit anything else onto that card, and I might even be forgetting a match. So however, those last two matches still could change if Zoey Stark gets injured here tonight. So Mandy Rose is out on commentary. This will be the main event. Remember, before the ad break, Cora Jade already came out. So Nikkita Lyons is in the back in case anybody tries to injure her new tag team partner, Zoey Stark. And because Nikkita needs her to be healthy to win the tag title tournament on SmackDown. So Zoey starts this match strong, using her size and strength advantage here nicely. But Cora's able to turn her around, getting a 1 count here. Zoey takes back control with some big strikes. And the announcers are only talking about Mandy Rose. They are not talking about this match whatsoever. Come on, guys. This is the main event. So anyway, Zoey takes down Cora twice here with waistlock takedowns, then hits a Northern Light suplex, or like a perfect plex basically, and Cora evades the next attack, but Zoey kicks her hard in the head. Zoey then hits a nice slingshot elbow drop, and then Cora blocks another attack, pulling the hair now and kneeing Zoey in the face. The announcers finally have to talk about the match, but that's only to tell us we're going to a picture-in-picture ad break. So Cora now has control. She wears out Zoey Stark in the corner. Zoey fights back with some big strikes here, but Cora takes and she takes Cora down with a headlock takeover, but Cora gets out and takes back control, hitting a springboard stomp as we come back from the break. So this has been a pretty good match. Rushed. It's very rushed and it's ignored by the announcers, but it's still a pretty good match despite all the things going against it. So Cora now hits an elbow strike, but Zoey rolls her up for a 2 count. Zoey now blocks a jumping knee strike, and Cora finds a black kendo stick between the ring and the stairs. So Zoey is able to duck under the kendo stick attack here and hit a German suplex. That was a nice looking sequence there. Either woman could win this match for sure. It's been a really good one. So Zoey now fires up, hitting more strikes and a couple lariats, ending with a big kick to Jade's knee, like a sliding kick, almost like a basement drop kick, but sliding. Cora Jade now gets her knee taken out here. Zoey hits a massive belly to back overhead suplex here. That was awesome. Cora is now showing a lot of toughness by fighting back after that one, but a huge super kick from Zoey almost wins the match. But again, good heart and fire inside of Cora Jade to kick out. Mandy's starting to get a little bit nervous now, getting silent on commentary and just sighing heavily as she watches how good Zoey Starks is. Cora now hits that jumping knee that she was looking for earlier, then hits a nice looking hammerlock DDT. I thought that might have got the win, but Zoey Stark is just barely able to kick out. Very even match so far. No clue who's going to win. Cora now showing a ton of toughness as well as Zoey. Cora hits sliced bread number 2 now for another 2 count. Zoey has the fight left inside of her. So Cora now goes for the black kendo stick again, but out of nowhere, Roxanne Perez is out here. She's holding on to the kendo stick, and this allows Zoey Stark to come from behind, hitting a big super kick followed by a knee strike to the face. It was basically a flipping GTS, and that gets the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Zoey Stark. So Roxanne tries to hit Cora Jade with the stick, but Cora evades the attack and runs away. Then Mandy Rose tries to hit Zoey with the title belt from behind, but Zoey ducks under this one, hits a super kick on Mandy Rose, and then the show ends. So, wow, pretty good episode overall. I hated the rounds match because of the boxing round 1. They tried to fit a lot of things into this week's episode, but didn't seem too rushed. I've seen it worse, and I'm guessing next week's going to be way more rushed than this week. But the Apollo Crews Roderick Strong match was by far the match of the night, despite Apollo Crews not really wanting to sell his back, which brought the match down, in my opinion, from being maybe a 4-star to like a 3.5. But every thing about this show was to set us up for next week's Heat Wave, but they didn't make this show boring. They added a lot of things. There was a lot of talking points, like Apollo Crews seeing, we saw inside of his head, and it's all green tinted, like his color scheme, which I thought was just the cherry on top of a ridiculous premise already. We saw different things like Wendy Chu using night vision goggles to do a sneak attack in the dark. That was cool. It looks like she's had her character rehabilitated. The whole Lash Legend talking the ears off of Malik and Idris was also really funny. I like that as well. So there was a lot of good things, a lot of interesting things in this show. Even though I didn't really like a couple of things, and like I said, even my favorite match of the night featured Apollo Crews not selling his back, which was ridiculous. But everything else seemed pretty good, and I cannot wait for a Heat Wave next week. I already know I'm going to have so much trouble. It's going to be such a rush show. I'm going to be over here typing away my notes like this, watching what the heck. So it's going to be a crazy show, but it's going to be a good review as well. So give me that subscribe so you guys can come check that out next week. I do all kinds of things. Oh, what's up? You didn't talk about The Rock this time. What but yeah, and yeah, if you guys ever have any questions or anything, I usually don't see them until after I'm done with the review, but then I can bring them up on the page, just or on the channel, just like this. Answer any questions you guys might have. When it comes to NXT 2.0, I'm very knowledgeable about what's going on in the Performance Center. I'm sure nobody else on their review tonight is going to be able to tell you that Javier Bernal and Hank Walker in that backstage segment with Cameron Grimes, and nobody else was probably going to mention that Thea Hale has already had 2 other matches against Arianna Grace on Level Up. So I pride myself with trying to know what's going on in the Performance Center, even though I'm in Detroit, Michigan, so many miles away. Like we saw the good big news out of the live shows this week. Tatum Paxley got her nose absolutely broken and destroyed by an errant knee shot from Sloane Jacobs. We don't know how long Tatum Paxley is going to be out, but there was blood everywhere, and they had to stop the match. Also finally making her debut after being in NXT for over a year is Jakara Jackson. You might have seen her in the background of the Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes barbershop segments. She's got bright red hair. So you might have seen her there, and I've been wondering, is Jakara Jackson ever going to make her debut? But yes, we finally got to see her debut. Well, we didn't see it, but it was in the non-televised house show. So I guarantee you nowhere else you're going to get this kind of NXT news. So thanks for tuning in. I got to get going because I'm doing the AEW Dark later on, and then I have live coverage of New Japan G1 Night 14. So I hope to see you guys there. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you again next time. Peace.